Hey everybody, it's SirMrCl3an, and we are back here on our YouTube channel, this time doing something I've never done before, which is opening up a Dungeons & Dragons starter set. Now that I'm playing a lot more Dungeons & Dragons, we're playing through Baldur's Gate right now. I just finished 2 campaigns that I've been running over the past 2 years, and I've been getting more and more into it. I bought a bunch of the original starter sets from 2014. And so now I'm into the new starter set, which is the 2024 rule set, I believe. I've also been I'm going to be doing a one-shot soon here with the 2024 rules. So I figured I'd start to familiarize myself with it. And I love these starter sets because I feel like they give a lot of value. This one was a little pricey at like $50. But I like all the doodads that come with it, so I'm not too upset about it because there is a lot in this box. This box is heavy. It's thick and it's heavy. Way heavier than the other ones. The other ones basically came with some character sheets, the game guide, a basic rule set, some dice. This one comes with cards. It comes with dice. It comes with the rules. It comes with a couple different adventures that kind of play out through this starter campaign. It is called, let's just get into it. The starter set itself is called Heroes of the Borderlands, and I've heard that it is kind of a reimagination of an original set that came out that had something to do with the Borderlands. I think it was also called something of the Borderlands or something Borderlands. This one is called Heroes of the Borderlands. I'm going to go ahead and read the back of the box really quick, just to get kind of an overview of what we're looking at here. And then we're going to see what's inside the box. An open and play entry into the world of Dungeons & Dragons. Heroes of the Borderlands is a cooperative fantasy adventure for all skill levels. In each game, one player acts as a dungeon master while others act as heroes in an ever-evolving story. Together you delve into monster-filled caves, explore untamed forest, and determine the fate of the Borderlands. Set up and play in minutes with a quick start guide and intuitive learn-as-you-play components. Nice. Any new DM would probably love that. Go on epic adventures with 3 adventure booklets that provide dozens of encounters involving combat, social interaction, and exploration. Choose your way to play with open-ended encounters. Do you fight the goblin, try to reason with it, or sneak past it undetected? All in one box includes dice, tokens, large maps, cards for magic items, monsters, and more. Like I said, I think it retails at $49.99. Very, very cool, very heavy, very weighty. Let's dig into this guy, huh? All right, we're gonna open it up. It's pretty tight. Let's see here. All right, a little bit more. There we go. All right, cool. So we got the box open. We'll leave that right there. All right, so first thing we run into is a read me first quick start guide. Tells you like kind of how to unpack the box. There's even a QR code for a quick start YouTube video. And there's even kind of like a quick start, how do you get going as a player, which is really cool. And then it has kind of a list of all the components that are inside, which is pretty rad. Pretty rad. All right, so next thing we see is a play guide. This is a reference booklet, so it probably has a lot of the basic rules. If you don't already know, the basic rules are available on D&D Beyond. They are also downloadable, I believe, as a PDF. They are not going to be like your full player's handbook or full DM guide or any of that kind of stuff. Obviously, you want Wizards wants you to download or buy those things and stuff like that. So that totally makes sense. But there is a lot of rules in here to get you going. Probably more than enough to really get you going. All right, then we have our 3 adventure booklets. So there's 3 different adventure booklets here. One is called Wilderness, one is called Keep on the Borderlands, and one is called Caves of Chaos. So these are, as I understand it, places that you will visit in this introductory campaign. There's a little, I believe, a letter that you read to kind of kick off the campaign. There is a overview of what the provisioner sells at their store. Just some basic stuff, which is cool. Musical instruments and some items. There's also a menu for a tavern, I believe. So you've got food and drinks, the stuff that you can buy at that tavern. There's also sacred services. I'm guessing there is like a church that has some sacred services. There is also a trader for, I believe, weapons and armor. So a whole bunch of just kind of cool thematic little things to have. It also can, what I love about these starter kits is for new DMs who are looking to actually homebrew and kind of build their own things. It gives you so many cool ideas. It's just, seems like it's just really, really cool. I haven't yet to homebrew. It's something I'd like to do at some point, but right now I'm having a lot of fun doing some of these box adventures. And I really enjoy like the writing and the creativity that they've come up with. All right, so the next piece of content here looks to be maps. So I think each major area has actual grid maps that you can lay out on your table, and if you have minis, you can play them. Now, you don't have to use maps. You can do everything in the mind. I forgot what that's called, like mind mapping or something like that. I think there's a term for it where you don't actually use like the physical maps and stuff. I don't know what that term is off the top of my head. I heard it earlier today and it's drawing a blank now. All right, so there is a bunch of that stuff, which is really nice. Then we get to the character sheets. All right, so there's a few different classes that are in the game to start out with. There is a cleric, a fighter, I believe a rogue, and a wizard. And they basically give you like starting character sheets. These are actually play mats that you can just sit down in front of you. Your players can sit down in front of you. And they have places to put additional cards, spells, backstory, what is that? Backstory, species card, equipment, things like that. And then, so there's one for level 1 cleric, and then there's also one for a level 3 cleric. So basically, I'm assuming you just use the level 1 until you reach level 3, and then you switch and start using the level 3, and you can use that for as long as you want to, until your players are comfortable kind of putting down their own, creating their own player sheets. And you don't have to use these. These are just really cool reference material. If anything, you could start a new character on a blank character sheet and just copy some of this stuff in pencil so that you can easily erase and move forward. Now we get to some of the really cool stuff that I'm excited about just because I like doodads and tangibles. So like, for example, there is a whole bunch of gold tokens. Yeah. So there's 1, 5, and 25 gold tokens. There are, looks like 2 sheets here of monster tokens. And they have 2 sides. So one side has letters on each of the monsters. So if you have multiple monsters, you can specifically say which one you're targeting. And then there's a side that doesn't have any. So you can play either way. It looks like there's 4 of each monster. Maybe 2 of a couple, but primarily 4. And then there's some like larger, kind of like boss monsters. And then there's also little standees. So you can use these standees to prop up your monsters. So that is way cool. And then there are some player tokens. There's terrain tokens. There's traps, it looks like. There's walls. There's like logs, spider webs. There's just a whole bunch of random tokens that you can pull out, and they also have standees for the player characters and whatever else you want to put out there. Looks like there's treasure chests, there's like piles of bones, there's a pit, there's a wagon. So a whole bunch of things that you tend to run across in the world of Dungeons and Dragons. All right, I'm trying to keep all of this in order so I can put it back in the way that I took it out. Because after this, I'm probably going to start popping out some of these tokens. There's also power tokens, hit point tokens, 1 and 5 hit point tokens, and gem tokens. So a whole bunch more tokens that you can use. These power tokens, what I've seen people use them for is placing them on your spell slots. And so as you consume them, you remove power tokens, which is a cool idea. But you can also just sit there and check them off like old school, you know? All right, now we're getting into, there's a little tray in there to help keep things organized. They've given you, I believe, 4 or 5 bags that you can use for your players. So each player can put the tokens that they're using in the bag. Yeah, there's four bags here, for one for each of your 4 players. There is dice. Never can have too many dice. And as I buy these, like, I just kind of give these out to my players and be like, hey, here's your dice for the session, especially if they don't have any. I love collecting more dice. There are some combat tracker logs, so you can actually write down, you know, initiative, the combatant, how many hit points they have, any conditions they have. There's also death saves, success and failure death save trackers that you can use. So these are super handy. You could probably just scan these and have an infinite number of these things, which are pretty cool. I mean, I have a little cheat sheet that I just use. It's like a little flip notebook that I use for my combat tracking, but now I might start using these. Let's see what's else. I think there's some more stuff under here. Yeah, okay. So now we're getting into the cards. So there are, I haven't opened these yet, but as far as I can tell, there are class-specific and even discipline-specific cards with backgrounds. So this one is for an acolyte, and it's a background card for an acolyte. So you can give this out to your players based on their backgrounds. Then there's also spells. So they're like, here is Toll of the Dead, which is a cantrip. It says at the bottom. So there's spell cards. There's also item cards. There's also NPC cards. And I think there's like 20 or so NPCs in this adventure. So like, here's an example of an NPC card. It's got a nice little portrait, their name, NPC. It says Human Captain of the Guard, Andrella. There are items. So like, here's Thieves' Tools. I'm sure there's a bunch more types of cards in there too. And then we get to some of the really cool stuff, which are little cheat cards for turn order, things like that for your players. So you can let them know, you know, move up to your speed, take an action, communicate, interact with other things, take a bonus action. So what you can do on your turn during combat. And then there's also monster cards. So what's nice about these is you don't have to then flip to the glossary of your books, which is where most of the monsters are. There's monster stat blocks in the back of a lot of almost every adventure book that I've looked at. But actually having cards of a lot of common monsters is very nice. I also personally had bought some monster cards, so these are just updated and new and look really nice, and so I'll be using these. And I usually don't let my players see these until they've encountered the monster and like defeated the monsters. And then I'm like, hey, here's what you were fighting, and here's kind of some of their stats, so you're better prepared next time. Because I figure once you defeat the monster, you kind of know a little bit about the monster now, you know what I'm saying? All right, cool. So I think that is, yeah, that's everything that came in this starter set. So thank you guys for watching. I'm very excited to get into this. I think this is what we're going to kick off next year in January. I'm probably going to kick off with my group this very specific adventure. So looking forward to it. and I'm going to get back to Baldur's Gate. So thank you guys for coming and hanging out. Appreciate you. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow, do all the good stuff, and we'll see you in the next video.